What's up, guys? Captain Cody Davis here, back again for another episode of Tight Splice Charters. Just out here in the yard getting the boat organized after 2 full days of tournament fishing out on Lake Okeechobee. Like I mentioned to you guys in my last video, I thought about fishing both tournaments, and I ended up fishing both tournaments this weekend out of Clewiston. The first one was the Toys for Tots tournament, benefit tournament, basically to raise Christmas gifts for all the underprivileged kids in Clewiston. Good turnout, and me and my brother ended up placing second in that tournament. Missed first by 1/10 of a pound, but that's the way that it goes. My buddy Bradley and his brother got it done, so congrats to them. But we only had 1770 on Saturday, I'm sorry. And Bradley had 1780, I believe, something like that. So the weights were very low out there on the lake. The lake was fishing very tough. Like I mentioned in my earlier video, there was going to be a 160 boat high school 2-day tournament on the lake this weekend also, so that added a lot of extra pressure. Excuse the background noise, my ducks are going on their sunset walk like they do every night. So got that done. My brother ended up staying with me again. We ended up fishing the Gambler Free tournament together the very next day, and kind of did things totally different. We really just really didn't fish anywhere that we fished the first day, and just used these 2 days as a lot of practice for me and Kelly's tournament this upcoming weekend, which is going to be the Roland Martin Marine Series Classic 2-day tournament where we fish for $30,000. So gonna try and do a very good job at vlogging that whole entire deal, take you guys through the whole process. So that's actually going to start in the video you're going to see after this. So excited for that. But we ended up placing, I think, 14th out of like 160 boats, and we only had 13 pounds yesterday, it would have been. So the lake was fishing very tough. There were a lot of really big fish brought in. The guys who actually took first in the Gambler tournament only brought in 4 fish. I think they had an 8 and a 6. So, and it just seemed like everybody who did well had one big bite. But like I've mentioned in my earlier videos, a lot of these fish are really spread out with the high water. And with the 160 boat high school tournament both days on the water, we had 150 or 160 boats on Sunday. There's over 300 boats right there. That's not counting all the spec fishermen, just the recreational fishermen, and all the guides as well. So there's probably 500-600 boats on the lake. And a lot of you that have any experience on Lake Okeechobee, yes, it's one of the biggest lakes in the world, but it can fish small, especially this time of year. All the hot spots are really crowded upon. Where we started yesterday, I could have casted and hit 20 different boats. So that's just the way it goes. You just got to put your head down and fish. But you guys, I'm trying and see what I'm going to do with that footage. It wasn't very exciting footage. We did have a couple of cool fish catches. I'll probably just put them at the end of this video if you guys want, because I don't know what I'm going to do with them. But what the purpose of this video is going to be is another video about getting kind of talking about the details of punching. That's really how we caught a majority of our fish this weekend. It's really into the punching season, as I call it. I like the winter months for punching the most. And it's probably the biggest technique that I get a lot of questions on, and a lot of people book me to go out and show them how to do it. By no means am I the best in the world at it. It is arguably my favorite way to catch a bass, whether it's in Florida or anywhere I can do it. I love to try and do it and make that bite happen. And it's something that I think a lot of people don't have a lot of confidence in, and I don't want to say they're scared of it, but when you pick up an 1.5 ounce or a 2 ounce weight, it feels ridiculously heavy in your hand. And I think that shies a lot of people away from it. And I feel like they really get on the boat with me just because they know I'm going to half of the battle's gone. I'm taking them to where I know there's some fish set up for a punch bite. And now they really just want to feel the bite. They don't know if they're getting a bite. They don't know if they're presenting the bait properly and things like that. And I was the exact same way when I started doing it. And a lot of people are under the impression that when you pick up the big weight and the big rod, as they call it, that you are really just going to be fishing for 5 bites, and they got to put it in their head that I'm going to be flipping this weight and I might only get a bite every 1.5 hours. And that's most of the time out here on Okeechobee, the farthest from the truth. I tell a lot of my customers, if someone told me you have 10 minutes to catch a bass on Lake Okeechobee and you win $1 million, doesn't matter how big it is, what's the technique I'm going to use? And it's definitely this. I'm going to go find a nice line of green mats, and I'm going to flip this rig down the edge of those mats, and chances are, if the timing's right and the conditions are right, I'm going to get bit within 5 minutes. It might only be a 12-incher. I think a lot of people are under the impression that you're only fishing for big fish under those mats, and the 12-inchers live under there just as much as the 10-pounders do. So, and I can't tell you guys how many times and how many areas and how many tournaments I've fished where you literally get bit every 5-6 flips throughout the whole course of the day. It's just trying to weed through the smaller ones to get to the bigger ones. So it is a technique where you are going to get a lot of bites. If you're in the right area, you find the right stuff, you know what you're looking for. So don't let that scare you away from this technique. And this video is just going to be how to get started, or some things you might want to know about starting out punching, to where you gain a lot of confidence in the technique and you roll with it. Because like I said, I get a lot of questions on it. So the first thing I'm going to say is, where it starts down here, is everyone that you talk to, probably besides me, is going to tell you to snell your hook. And what a lot of you, if any of you guys watching this aren't familiar, which I'm sure most of you are, what snelling the hook does, it's just a fancy knot that you really don't even tie a knot. You're basically just wrapping the line around the shank of the hook. And what everyone tells you is, when you pull this tight, take this bait off real quick. The reason you want to snell is for when you get a bite and you pull this tight, it kicks that hook up, right? And pretty much anybody that you watch online, any of the pros, anyone you meet on the water is going to have a Snell knot tied on their flipping setup. I don't do it. I recommend everybody who's starting to punch any kind of vegetation to stay away from it, for the simple reason, well, I'll tell you you're going to get stuck a lot. That's what it comes down to. You're going to get hung more often. Yes, does it maybe, people think it improves your hook ratio, your hookup ratio on on bass. I've never had it where I think it improves anything except for me hanging up under the mat. When you flip this into, what did I do? I just jacked up my whole Snell knot here, so now my example is not going to work. Oh boy, now I'm going to make myself look like an idiot. I tied a really quick Snell knot and I didn't tie it good, so now it's not even kicking up like it's supposed to. But essentially, when you flip up under a mat, right, and you're pumping that bait and you go to pull it out, if that hook does what it's supposed to and kicks out like this, you're going to get hung underneath that mat more times than you would if you just tied a traditional uni knot like I do. Yes, it's going to they say it improves your hookup ratio on the fish, but it's also going to improve your snag ratio, which you don't want. Punching is all about being efficient, and if you're trying to get confidence in this technique, after 20 minutes, if you make 60 flips and you get hung up or you snag the bottom of that mat 15 times out of those 60, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to put the thing down. Don't do it. When you're just starting out, you want to really get the rhythm down, the nuance down, the flow down. You want to get into a nice routine and be efficient with your flips. At least that's how I like to do it. So I just tie a simple uni knot to my hook. You could do a Palomar, you can do whatever knot you have confidence into the braid. I do a uni knot, and I'm here to tell you, I don't really lose them. I lose them if I do a funny hook set or whatnot, but not only that, I don't, some of my guys I fish with, they'll snell a knot and they're getting hung under that mat a lot more times than I am. And to me, that's not worth it. I don't want any headache. I don't want anything that's going to irritate me or make me less efficient on the water. So I go with just a straight uni knot. Uni knot, if you look at the way it's tied, the way it comes tight, it's literally impossible for a uni knot to fail. So it's the easiest to tie, so that's what I tie on everything. I really don't lose hardly any fish. I mean, you're going to lose some, but I don't see a reason to change. Another thing that I think a lot of people, try to do is when they pick this bait up or they pick up this rod to do this technique, and I fish with a lot of people that do this, is they want to try and get away with the lightest weight possible because they're just scared of how heavy an 1.5 ounce weight feels. Think about it. It's an 1.5 ounces or even a 2 ounce. That's not, 2 ounces is nothing. That's not very heavy. It feels heavy to you because instead of being spread out throughout a big hunk of plastic, just this weight in this little 1.5 inch space weighs that much, so it feels heavier than it is. It's not too heavy. It would amaze you how many 10-inch bass you catch with this 5/0 hook and this 1.5 ounce weight out here on the lake. So don't let that scare you. A lot of people like to try and they might be flipping vegetation that they really truly need 1.25 ounces, 1.5 ounces to be efficient in, but they try to get through it with a 3/4 ounce. Don't do that. Go to 1.5 ounces or a 2 ounce right off the rip and just flip it, because at the end of the day, it does not matter how heavy the weight is. The more times you get through that canopy, the more chances you have to catching a fish. So a lot of times, you know, sometimes there's guys that'll have 3 rods rigged up with a 1 ounce, 1.5 ounces, and a 2 ounce. Because if they get to some lighter stuff and they're flipping a 2 ounce and they come to a lighter patch, they want to flip a 1 ounce in there. 9 times out of 10, that fish that ate that 1 ounce is going to eat that 2 ounce also. That fast fall is what gets them to react to that bait. So go with the heavier weight. And it's going to make you get more comfortable with the presentation also. You want it so that you don't have to jiggle it to get it to fall through. You know, if you make 10 flips and 5 of them your bait lands on the mat and you can't get it to go through, you're not being efficient. You want it so that it's just a nice even reel, flip, free spool down, hop 3 times, he ain't on there, reel it in, flip it again. And you just want to get into a flow where you're not trying to really work extra hard to get that bait through the mat. You're going to get frustrated, you're going to put it down. That's what I'm getting at. So I really don't like flipping a 2 ounce, just because I feel like when I do miss fish, the difference between a 2 ounce tungsten and an 1.5 ounce tungsten is pretty big. I don't have one here, I'd show you. That bigger, bulkier weight, you are going to lose more fish because it's going to blow their mouth open, especially when you're dealing with smaller fish, 4, 3 pounders. You know, their mouths aren't really that big in comparison to that weight size, so you are going to lose more fish. It's going to blow their mouth open, and that's an extra 1/2 ounce of weight throwing around on your line to pop that hook out of their mouth. So I really, truly do my best to stay with the 1.5 ounce weight, but you got to do what you got to do in some cases, and I will go up to a 2 ounce. The next thing, your bait. There's no denying that a beaver style bait is probably the most popular in the state of Florida. This is a Reaction Innovations Sweet Beaver. Probably the most flipped bait in the state of Florida. Now, here's the thing. The bigger the profile, the harder it is going to be for you to get that weight, hook, and bait through any type of mat. I don't care what you're dealing with. So what I would recommend to anybody who's just starting out and trying to get confidence in this technique, to size your bait down. This is the Gambler Burner Crawl. This is what I use 99% of the time when I'm flipping mats, no matter if it's freezing, whether it's hot, whether I'm flipping a 3/4 ounce, whether I'm flipping an 1.5 ounce, whatever. This is 90% of the time what I have on. They make one even smaller than this. They make one probably arguably one of the biggest secrets but well known by all the Florida locals, the Gambler BB Cricket. It's a tiny do nothing bait designed to do nothing but punch mats with. It's so small that when you put it underneath that 1.5 ounce weight, it almost just looks stupid, but the giant ones eat it and it goes through the mats with ease. Buy them. Buy something small that's going to go through that mat as easy as possible. Like I think I mentioned in my last video, I even go to the extent of pulling these 4 little legs off of this burner crawl, because that's just another thing to hang on a leaf or a hyacinth. Anything that that vegetation can grab onto is going to slow down your flow and slow down your bait from falling through that mat. You want it going through there as quick and effortlessly as possible. I'm trying to talk fast before the sun goes down. I get eaten alive by mosquitoes. Because that's the most natural, and that's what's going to make those fish react. And like, again, if you're stuck trying to get that bait and finesse it through the mat, you're going to get frustrated, you're not going to use it, and you're not being efficient. So downsize your bait. Once you get up and you start, I don't know, gaining more confidence, feeling more comfortable with the presentation, then you can go up and start trying to punch bigger baits like an ugly otter or a beaver or whatever kind of baits you guys like, a tube. But to start out, A Gambler Burner Crawl gets a lot of bites. I mean, it's still what I use, like I said, 99% of the time. Under very, very severe cold front conditions down here, I will go to the BB Cricket sometimes just because it's so small. And when it's really windy out, you know, it just, like I said, it goes through the mat with so much ease and so effortlessly that you don't have to try and work it through there no matter what the condition. So I will go to that. And sometimes I will use a beaver style bait. One thing, a little hint I will give you, any type of bait, whether it's this beaver, whether it's whatever kind of plastic you like to use, a lot of these bait companies will put like a ridge or a rib, a little crease in the middle of the bait. It's for you to put your hook in so that it comes through easier. Don't use that. What I recommend for people to do, I got weights and hooks everywhere. Because it really doesn't matter, because it's a reaction bite anyway, and that bait is falling through that mat so fast, if you put that bait in that ridge, your hook is going to come through the backside of this bait easier, like so, and you're going to get hung up underneath that mat more. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to put it down. These nice, chunky, thick sides here, hook it sideways. Anyone who tells you they don't do this, who does this regularly, is lying to you. 9 times out of 10, that's where I'll put the hook when I'm flipping mats, if I'm using this beaver style bait, just because it's more protection from that hook point from pulling through and getting you hung. And let me tell you, if you set the hook correctly using this technique, it's going to be no problem for that hook to poke through that extra 1/8 of an inch of plastic, but it's going to make all the difference in the world with you being efficient. The other thing you got to think about is this is probably the easiest technique ever where you can't mess it up. Because at the end of the day, you're just letting that bait free fall. I'm sure any punch video or any video on YouTube talking about this technique is going to tell you the same thing. A lot of people think you need to flip that bait on that mat and feel it on the way down. That is not what you want to do. I'll put, like I said, you'll see some of the fish catch videos at the end of this. But I'm flipping that bait in there and free spooling that reel, and you want that line just flowing off so that bait, that 1.5 ounces, is carrying that bait to the bottom all on its own. If one catches it on the way down, you'd be amazed with the technology in this braided line now and these rods. You'll feel that tick even with no tension on the line at all. Also, another easy way to tell, your reel will backlash because it's falling and it'll just stop suddenly from that fish catching it. That's how you know you got bit. But you want to just free spool it to the bottom, engage the reel, and 99% of the time, when you go to lift, it's going to feel heavy. If there's a fish, if a fish gets it, that's when they're going to get it. So you're going to go to lift and it's going to feel extra heavy. That's him. Swing. Hook sets are free. When you swing with this technique, you don't want to drop slack in the line and jack. You just want to simply, you'll see in the videos how I do it. I'll reel down, I lift up, I'll feel that there's some weight there, and it's just more of a hard pull. And that's going to that's just going to make that hook really just snug right in their lip, as opposed to flying out and trying to stab them. It's just going to snug in there. It's also going to prevent that weight from blowing their mouth open. So that's, another thing. This is not a sales pitch. This is not, I don't know what you'd call it. Like I said, I pay for my stuff. I am in no means sponsored. I'm not a professional angler. I'm a fishing guide. But I have been searching for this product right here for the past 10 years, and I finally found it. Arc came out with this new line of rod. This is the Essence line. I think they're $179 they were. And I'm a fan of the full cork when I'm flipping. I'm weird. A swim jig, I don't like full cork. A worm, I don't like full cork all the time. Actually, the one I'm throwing my worm on now is full cork, but I'd prefer it not to be. But the action of the rod is what I like. But when I'm throwing a worm, I don't like a full grip. Trying to think what else. A chatterbait, I don't like a full grip. I have no idea why. I just don't. When it comes to punching, I like it. I couldn't find a rod that was that had it that was comfortable to me. This is it. This is the 711 Heavy Arc Essence rod. I finally got my hands on. I tried it for the first time this weekend. I never lost a fish this entire weekend. I lost one. I'm sorry. I lost one that was about 9 inches long. It may have even been a sunfish when it came out of the mat. It was tiny. Never lost another one. Boat flipped everything. Every fish was hooked perfectly right between the eyes in the hard spot of the mouth. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm testing out a new rod. The biggest thing with this rod is it's got a lot of tip. Okay, I don't know if you can see that there, but it's got a lot of tip, and it's got a really good parabolic bend like you'll see in the fish catch videos, which is what you want. The parabolic bend with this technique is what prevents you from losing fish. It picks up the slack when that fish is head shaking, wallowing under the mat, and it keeps that hook, that line tight, and it keeps that hook pinned in their mouth. The other thing, this rod is totally balanced. You don't feel like you got anything in your hand when you're using it except for the reel, even with that 1.5 ounce weight on there. And when you're flipping this for 8 hours a day, all day for 2 days, fatigue is a big thing. You know, I don't consider myself old. I'm going to be 30, but it'll wear out a teenager, you know, with this big weight. So you want something that's balanced and just, like I said, you can flow with when you're trying to just cover water with this technique. And this rod's it. Super comfortable. Love it. Boat flipped everything. Caught a few nice fish on it. And what that tip also does, you don't realize, is it allows you, once you get good at the rhythm of flipping mats, it'll allow you to land that big, heavy 2 ounce, 1.5 ounce weight in that mat super quietly. You know, when you're flipping this technique, it's very easy, and a lot of you that are getting into it will notice when you flip it in there, even though it's hitting on top of a grass mat, it'll still make a sploosh on the water. You want to try and prevent that as much as possible, and the best way to do it is when you flip, right before it touches the mat, I'll just give my spool a little touch. And what that does is that bait's, you know, flying through the air, and when you touch it and stop it, it'll spin that bait around, and you let it go, and it just drops straight in. So it's just whoop, going just like that. And if you don't have a good tip on your rod, it's not gonna load it and make it fall like that. It'll just kind of lay flat and, you know, splash in the mat. And not only is it gonna make a lot of noise, but it's not always going to get through the mat if it lands sideways on something as opposed to just falling through straight down, letting the weight carry that bait through. So having a good tip on your rod is a big thing. You know, my brother was not flipping this rod, and he said it over and over and over and over again over the course of the weekend. Like, you're getting through, you know, out of 10 flips we both make, you're getting through all 10. He's getting through 8 out of the 10 times, or 5 out of the 10 times, because he wasn't fishing a rod that was adequate for the situation, in my opinion. So this thing is awesome. I'm literally going to go order like 5 more of them. I think I'm actually going to switch all of my flipping rods to this rod, whether I'm flipping 1.5 ounces, even if I'm flipping a 3/4 ounce, this rod's rated for it. And I think I'm just going to make this my all-around flipping rod. I fell in love with this thing. The other big thing is, on a lot of the arc rods, they have a bigger foregrip, and your finger's actually on the foregrip. Here, this one's pretty short, so your finger can be on the blank. A lot more sensitive. You feel all those little ticks. A lot of times, those fish, when they hit this bait, it's not an aggressive bite. 9 times out of 10, like I said, you're going to go lift, and it's going to feel spongy but heavy. But if you can feel that little tick before you get spongy and heavy, and you can pick up that slack and start lifting, you're going to increase your odds of landing fish. Because what will happen a lot of times, and happened to us a number of times this weekend, is they'll hit it and they'll run out with it. So your line will be tight in the mat when really your fish is 5, 6 feet to the left. And you're just, when you lift up and feel that spongy, heavy feeling, you're really just feeling the line tight in the grass where your fish is over here. So the faster you can feel that bite, reel down, lift that slack up, the closer they're going to be to where they actually bit the bait. So that's a lot of little things just to keep in mind. Again, everything, you know, I had this paired up with an Abu Garcia reel, 7/3 to 1, I think it is. You don't need a 9 or a 10 to 1 reel. I like to be able to turn the handle randle when you're reeling a fish in. 65-pound Suffolk Performance braid. It's an 1.5 ounce tungsten, a single bobber stop, 5/0 hack attack hook. And like I said, I was flipping that Gambler burner craw the entire weekend, I believe. So that's it. If you guys want to come out and try to learn this technique, You can get on my boat and we can go do it. And I guarantee you, after the end of you will get bit. You can feel what a bite feels like. Hell, you might catch a 9-pound bass. That'd be best case scenario. But don't think that this technique is just strictly for trying to catch a big one. I don't know how many fish we caught this weekend doing this, but it was over 30. And you will catch a lot of small ones, but you do have a very good chance of catching a real big one also. If you got the right rod, you got the right hook, you got the right terminal tackle, and you got the right technique down when it comes to the hook set and keeping the line tight and not going crazy, you'll land almost all of them. So that's about it. Don't have to snell your hooks. If you're just starting out, I definitely would advise against it. And I don't know. That's the cool thing about fishing. There's no right or wrong way. Everyone has their little nuance. Everyone has their own way of thinking, and everybody has their system that works for them. So that's what works for me. If you guys want to go do this, give me a call. Take you out on Okeechobee, and hopefully I can put you on a bass of a lifetime. Hopefully it's under a mat. If you guys are looking just to go fishing at all, I do have some dates open here throughout the month of December still, and I'm booking into March. Okeechobee, the lid is going to pop off this lake any moment. It is still difficult, but you do have a real chance at a big one right now. There's big fish being caught all over the lake from north to south. Hopefully, me and Kelly put together where 10 of them live, and we bring in 55 pounds or 50 pounds for 2 days in this upcoming tournament. So I'm going to try and document everything. Tomorrow I have a charter in the afternoon, so I'm going to try and get out there early and do a little bit of fishing in the morning, try to locate some fish for them and try to locate some fish for the tournament. So that'll be my first official practice day, and I think that's actually going to be it. I think I've got to work the rest of the week, so I might even bring the GoPro and film some of those trips just so I can show you guys what I'm looking for on the lake. And I'll definitely have the camera rolling for the 2 days of the event. So hopefully at the end of that, you see me and Kelly holding up a big $30,000 check. I appreciate you guys watching. This one went a little long, but I get a lot of questions on this, so I wanted to take my time and explain it. The mosquitoes are coming, so I'm going to go inside. I appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe, like. If you have any questions, shoot me a text. My phone number is in the description. More than happy to help you out. If you want to book a trip, it's as easy as shooting me a text message, and I can let you know if I have the dates available. I can send you my pricing, what it all includes, the whole nine. There's a bald eagle flying over my head with a rabbit in its talons at the sunset. That's the most American thing I've ever seen. Tie lines, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Is it? Not bad. I mean, a giant one. Oh, God. I don't want to pull too hard. I told you we'd get right quick out here, baby. Oh, shit. I got the fish. Oh, I got a hook in me. Oh, my line's wrapped up. Come on, Constant.
Oh, he wasn't coming off.
No. Holy shit. Couldn't tell if he was big.
I couldn't either.
Hold him to the camera. Woo! I couldn't tell if he was big or if you just...
I wasn't sure. I'm not taking a chance anymore.
4-pounder. That's all we need. Flipping them? Yeah. Oh, giant. That'll help. Woo, baby. That'll help. Doesn't even look good. I mean, it looks okay, but we've been flipping better shit, don't get fit. Flipping that.